And a warm welcome to everyone today, because we're going to look at how we made the jungle tree. Before we get started, this is a note to myself, but it's pretty important that I take this line and stick to it, and that is that I make these videos to help people learn and give examples. So if you are looking for a quick fix entertainment to fill a bored moment, then please, don't look any further unless you want to get to the end of this video. So that's one of the reasons why I don't show my face on the webcam, because there's no need. If it's something that is important, then I will do it. Now, yesterday I made this video called The Jungle Trees by Marjorie Wilson, which was a poem based on some footage that I've taken. So what I'm going to do is talk you through exactly how that was done. So the first thing is that I went off into the woods and I recorded some ambient sound. I used the Zoom H1 microphone that you can see was attached to the tree. The other thing that is pretty important to gather, and that is some stock footage, and I've got over, goodness, it must be 300 short clips. I tried never to move the DSLR or video camera and to record short clips. You can see the one on the right there has got some file details along with bit rates, which are pretty high from my old D90 DSLR. Now after that, what we need to do, the first step that I had was I went to Google Drawings and I made a widescreen 2:3:9 ratio slide, and you'll see that in use in a moment. You can use it in Sony Vegas directly, but I just wanted to make this slide, download it as a transparent PNG. Then after that, what we did is we looked at a poem, which was The Jungle Tree by Marjorie Wilson. I really liked the flow and the meter of it. In other words, it was 4 lines based over 6 verses that gave me 24 lines, and that was really useful because I had 24 video clips. Don't ask me why, it just worked out that way. Again, I used the Zoom H1 to have a 5 or 6 read through of the poem, and I recorded it in 2 takes. The first take was a bit quick and a bit serious. The second one was just me speaking in a natural voice. Now after that, what we can do is go immediately to Sony Vegas and get us started. So what we do here, and if you're new to Sony Vegas, then these components can be moved around all the time. So in other words, if I pull this thing off, and I normally put the preview into a second window, in other words a second monitor that I use. For the purpose of this, I'm going to hold down the control key and it will slot back into this one UI, user interface, I don't know, screens, call it what you want. Now looking at the top, I'm just going to expand them, and this is the idea that we've got to a position where we want to produce, and I'll just remind ourselves that this is a 60-second clip. So the first thing that I looked at doing was laying in the PNG file. What that gives us, look, if I just bring this down, is you can see, there we go, you can see that there is a clip of the woods. If I turn this track off, it becomes a 16:9. Turn it on, and I've just masked the classic black borders. As I say, Sony Vegas does allow you to do this using the pan and crop. I have not chosen to do it in this way, and there are reasons for that, mainly to do with dragging this slide along the top here. You can see that track 1, I've called it, if you like, sorry, the top one where it says number 1, it flows through the duration of the clips. Tracks 2, 3, 4, 5 are all about verses. Now you see some of them are empty, but what I did is I laid down, let's have a look at the focus of track number 4, which happens to be this clip. Now when I lay in and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up to the top here, because you don't really need to see it in my view, and I'm going to bring this wide. So what we've got here is a clip. Now this clip, if I drag it over to the right hand side and I look down there, it's 4 seconds and 18 frames long. In reality, what I can do is I can just go and drag this wide and drag this wide to the left. There we go. You can see that in reality this clip is, and I'm just going to look and put it there, and put it there. In reality, this clip, when I recorded it, stood in the forest. It was 10 seconds long, and you can see that I've had to trim it to bring it into the required amount that I need. When I say I need, when I've lined up all of these 24 clips, it's actually turned in to be over 5 minutes of video. Remember, when I recorded the audio, which was this audio here, of the voice, it only turns into, and if I just click on it, you can see 59 seconds and 22 frames, more or less. So I had to, and I'm not going to lie, this was the hard bit, of going through and saying to yourself, okay, how do I get 5 minutes of clips all the way down into 60 seconds? And the answer is, I'm afraid you just got to be extremely patient and decide the running order. Now, if you look at the frames, once I organised myself, I needed to get the widescreen look, and the way I achieved that was by going into, and I'm going to click on this track effects, and I used it in 2 extremely simple stages. And what I mean by that is I went in and I added the colour corrector, and I set that to the red midtones, which is there, look, red midtones. For the right clip, you might be able to turn it over to the blue midtones, but certainly it wouldn't work. If you want to give that early morning or late at night feel, use blue midtones. And the second one was the colour curves, and all I've done there, it was a dead straight line, and all I've done is I've dragged the little dot here and I've moved it up to the top, pulled it down to the bottom to make this like serpentine or S shape, and that's all I've done. I could mess around with this for a long time. So to create the widescreen look, I've used a black borders top and bottom, and I've used color correctors. I have just left it there. Okay, and now we've thankfully nearly finished on this video. The bottom track down here for music is the ambient background sound that I recorded in the woods, and I had about 60 seconds. And I've made, and let me just turn this one down as well to about here. Look, you can see that I've set the volume for this particular track to be about half, in other words about 50% of the maximum. If I put it to maximum, then the background noise overarches my voice, or the voice of the poem. If I set it too low, it's just not there at all. I don't really want to touch anything at the moment because I'm quite happy. And then the last piece here, I've added a transparent text in black to say The Jungle Trees by Marjorie Wilson. And what I've done on that is I've come along and I just need to click and zoom in, and I'll just make it a little bit bigger so you can see. And what I need to do on the pan and crop here is, as the video plays, it moves around a little bit, and what I've done is I've tracked the motion. So every time that you see these little buttons here, what that means is it's a keyframe, and if I click the keyframes, I've said at that keyframe the text has got to be here, but I want it to be at this spot and this spot. So all that really means, if I play a tiny part of this, is that if I come up to, yeah, here we go, let's just play it, you'll see that the text arrives and keeps moving around to try and be in the very bright portion of the sunlight on the side of the tree. And that's it. So that was how to do it all. I could go in here and spend another like 20 minutes talking it through. What is the point? You've got the idea of it, that if you want to start something like this yourself, then you can go on and have a go at Sony Vegas or any other software. So remember, if you do want to follow this kind of stuff from me, then I always ask, and I've screwed that up, haven't I? Sorry, I've messed that up in that there's my subscribe little button there. And what I've done, actually, look, I'll just finish this up here. If I undo the lock preview on my slide thing and I reset it, so this is just a thing about OBS where I do some other things and I fit to the screen. Oh, it still hasn't moved. Doesn't matter. I will finish it in here and I will say thank you very much, so much for watching, and see you in the next video.